In this Arca Minute, I will go over how to make batch edits to your objects from within the Islandora user interface. Before we proceed, let me start with a warning. Making batch changes to your objects can be extremely dangerous and should not be done without very careful validation of the changes that you're making and the metadata that you are importing. There are two viable modules for making batch edits or changes using the web UI. Islandora Find Replace and Islandora Data Streams IO or Input Output. We're going to start with Find Replace. Now, Islandora Find Replace should be installed in your repository. If not, you can clone it from the GitHub. Turn it on under the Modules menu. You'll find it under Islandora, Islandora Utility Modules, Find and Replace. There are four ways to filter the objects that you're selecting. You can do it by content model. Here's a list of all the content models that are installed in my repository. By namespace, by parent collection, and by the date that the object was ingested into the repository or last modified. So that is not the date issued, but the date when the object was ingested. Content model here is a required field, although this is something that I'd like to fix. The others are optional and may be used together if desired. Note that the namespace filter option is only available in my version of the module, so if you find it on GitHub, the user is Bond, Jim Bond. Under DataStream ID, you're probably interested in modifying the mods datastream. You might also edit the DC or Dublin Core data stream, although since this is created by transforming the mods automatically, it's not recommended to modify the DC just on its own. If you're working on an entities collection, that is your Scholar profiles, then you'll want to enter MADS, which is the data stream for person objects. We're going to go with mods, and we're going to deal with large image objects. So large, no, basic image objects. So in the next box, enter the text that you want to look up. Note that this module is not very good at finding line breaks, so if you put any here, your search won't work. That means that you're kind of stuck looking up single lines of XML or specific values that you want to change. For a real-world example, we've had a few objects ingested in Arca that had been given the date created element instead of the date issued element, which is the one that's actually required in mods. Here's an example object, and here's its metadata, and you'll see the date created here, and we want date issued. So we know that best practices are to use date issued for dates, so we want to edit all objects that have the date created and turn it into date issued. So let's take date created, put it into the search text. Then we'll put the replacement text, date issued. If I want to be more precise, not only am I looking for all basic images, but I'm looking for basic images within the basic image collection. Now, I'll run the search, and it'll find all the items within our parameters. And there are lots of them. So we're going to check off all the items that we want to fix, or you can select all like this, and replace the string. So now we get a notification, find and replace complete. All of our replacements are complete. Let's take a look at the mods data stream for our example object now. We'll refresh, and it says date issued now instead of date created. Something to note, editing the mods in this module does not update the Dublin core data stream. That is, it isn't run through the mods to DC transform XSL file like it is when you ingest an object using the form. There is a good chance that you're going to need to update the Dublin core data stream in a similar way if you're editing, say, genre terms or whatever. In this case here, both date issued and date created go into DC date, so I don't need to do it. The second batch modification tool that you have access to is Islandora Data Streams IO. This one allows you to export a set of data streams, edit them on your local machine, and then import them. So again, we'll find it under the Modules menu. There's Islandora Data Streams Input-Output Operations Export Utility. Now, this tool comes with 3 permissions. There we go. Use the data stream import-export tool, export data streams, and import data streams. You'll want to make sure that you have permission for each of them, but be very judicious when assigning these permissions because this tool provides a lot of options. Making batch changes incorrectly can cause tremendous problems for your repository. So just be careful who you give it to. Now the interface is right under the Islandora menu. And you'll see that it has a bunch of different functions: export, import, relationships, XSLT transform, and updating the object label. We are only going to be concerned right now with the export and import functions. The other features are a bit more niche or advanced for our purposes. Before you do anything though, to configure your module, you'll want to make sure you set the mods to DC XSL transform file. Without this, any changes that you make to the mods data stream will, as in the other tool, not take effect in the Dublin core data streams. So let's set it to mods2dc.xsl and save. Now any work that we do on mods will also update the DC data stream. So we'll start by exporting. First, we have to choose which data stream we want to export. So if we're editing metadata, we probably want mods, but this tool is flexible for all kinds of uses, and you could export, say, all the thumbnails, all of the relationships, whatever you like. But here we'll select mods. Now you will further limit this by selecting the objects that you actually want to export data from. You can do it in a few different ways. We have a list of PID values, so if we know exactly which objects we want to work with, the list of PIDs is the best way to do it. Just put them all on separate lines, like IR6 or 5, Islandora 47, 6, etc. And then the export will only apply to those specific objects. You can do it by collection, and you get a list of all the collections that are available in your repository. Select one. Or you can do it by content model. This will let you export data streams from all the objects with a particular content model, say all large images, all citations, all PDFs, whatever. You can also do it by Solr query, which is a more advanced approach, but it can narrow down your objects much more precisely. Say you want all citations and thesis objects between certain dates, then you can do that right here. You just need to craft the right Solr query. Now getting the syntax for this right may take some experimentation and advanced searches in your repository. We'll do a simple one. We want all the mods data streams for all large image objects in the repository. So we'll find Islandora large image content model. Now we can see the selected objects before we export the batch to save maybe some time and bandwidth and processing power. This shows me that my request returns 103 objects. These are their PIDs. Satisfactory to me, so I'm going to export the batch. And we have notification. The export is ready, and we can download the zip file. So I'm going to export or expand the zip file, and there they are. Here are the XML files that I can now work with. Take note of the file names. They tell you the object's identifier as well as the data stream ID. So this is for the object Islandora 125, and it's the mods data stream. This is object Islandora 126, the mods data stream. Do not change these file names when you're editing objects. If you do, Islandora won't recognize them when you try to import them. And of course, you don't necessarily need to re-import all of the objects you've exported. If you realize that, say, only 4 of them need any work, you could just delete the rest. So once you've identified the ones you want to work with, open them up in your favorite text editor. I use Text Wrangler on my Mac and fix up the metadata. In this record, you'll see that the topic elements are all grouped together under a single subject parent, which is not good practice in mods. So maybe I'll fix that. Wrap them all up so that they each have their own parents. Make sure you validate your XML, subject, end subject, subject, end subject, subject, end subject, if you have broken XML, then you'll cause problems. Once I've edited all of the files that I need to edit, I'll zip them back up. Remember, I didn't change any of the file names. Then we'll go back to the module, and this time we'll import. We'll choose the file that contains all of our mods files. There it is, archive.zip that I just made. Click Next. And it'll show you all of the PIDs for the objects that you are going to be updating and the data stream that you are updating. This is okay. We'll click Finish. And now they've been pushed. So we can look at our object, Islandora 125. We'll see the mods record, and there they are. All of our subjects are properly under their own parents.